Pam is a cat mom and holistic health seeker who,
Unmuted.
after suffering an injury that wouldn't heal, was led on a journey to seek out alternative, holistic, and natural medicine. She now shares what she learned, helping people and their cats along their path to holistic health. Pam has taken courses in holistic health for animals, muscle testing, and animal communication. Please welcome Pam. Back to News for the Soul.
Good evening. Happy Monday, everyone. I am Pam with Perfectly Holistic, and I am so excited to be back with you tonight. We are doing a special live Q&A. We haven't done this in months because I've had so many great guests. So I want to take a second and just let you guys know where you can find us tonight. We are on Instagram live for the first time ever, broadcasting the radio show. So all of my peeps out in Instagram land, thank you for joining us, and you are welcome to tune in. And if I can catch a question on Instagram, I'm kind of watching 3 different screens here, so I will do my best. But you can also email questions to the show itself. It's tell us what is okay no it's on the air at telus.net, so on the air at telus.net. And you can also call into the show at the number 646-595-4274 if you want to ask me a question. So we're going to talk about holistic health for pets tonight. And you guys know I'm a cat expert more than dog expert, but I have been learning a lot about dogs, so I can take a stab at dog questions just in general and see how we do. So that being said, please drop us, if you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, drop us a question here, because that way I know I can see comments here. And so I'm so excited to see what we can do to answer your burning questions tonight. So without further ado, we are going to get started. And I do want to take a second just to answer one of the ones that came in from Sayali. And I apologize if I butchered your name. I think that's how you pronounce it. So the question is, what can I use to treat my cat's IBD? So that's a great question. I would actually want to ask you a couple of questions. First of all, do you know the cause of the IBD? Because there's a lot of root causes. And so when we can rule out the actual underlying cause of the IBD, then it gets much clearer on what to do to address it. One of the most common underlying causes for IBD issues in cats is diet. So if you are not feeding your cat a species appropriate, wet, meat-based diet 100% of the time, that is the first place I would start. So we got to get the right diet, because remember, we're talking about a gut issue. It's an intestinal issue. Intestines are where the metabolism and the absorption of nutrients takes place. And if we're not feeding the right food, our cats are not going to absorb the nutrients. And if there's a lot of inflammation in the gut, then you're also going to be limiting the amount of nutrients that are going to be absorbed and pass through that intestinal wall. So that being said, if you can address the root cause, start feeding a wet diet. In some cases, parasites, medications are 2 other commonly overlooked causes of IBD. So look at what you're doing, medication wise. Are you putting a lot of flea and tick meds and toxic chemicals on your pet? Because that can weaken the immune system and the gut as well. So, and then the other one I was thinking, the parasites. Even if your cat has been tested or treated for like worm type parasites, it could be an amoeba or a protozoa type parasite that is causing the issue. So those are going to be more specialized testing. And I have found that homeopathy works beautifully, sorry, can't speak, in clearing up those kinds of infections that can manifest itself as in diarrhea and loose stools and things like that. So yeah, IBD is a huge problem. But if we can find those root causes and address the root causes, then the symptoms stop, which is great. You can also ask your vet to do a functional GI test. And this basically just tests to see how well your cat's body is absorbing things like cobalamin and folate, which is your B vitamins. So if you're not adding a B vitamin supplement, that might be indicated for a cat with IBD. Using a product like Ion Gut Support for Pets seals the tight junctions in the intestinal walls to stop toxins and chemicals and even proteins, whatever it might be, that's leaking through and getting into the bloodstream. We want to seal that gut lining. So I love Ion Gut Support. If there are chemicals to detox, there are great supplements that you can add to address that. And just help reduce inflammation. Omega-3s are great. Medicinal mushrooms are excellent for restoring immune system. And remember, the immune system is in the gut. So we got to look at the potential of adding things like that. Sometimes probiotics are necessary. You might even consider doing a fecal transplant, depending on the severity of the case, because that it could be very, very helpful. Things like S. boulardii, which is a type of yeast, it's a fermented yeast. It's a type of probiotic that can help rebalance the unhealthy to healthy levels of bacteria in the gut as well. So those are a few suggestions. We did a radio show about a year ago on addressing IBD with cats. And then I also followed up with a blog. So there's a whole blog article on my website, purrrfectlyholistic.com, or you can go back into our previous radio shows here at newsforthesoul.com and look at the archives for Purrrfectly Holistic. You can also find them on my website and YouTube channels. So that's going to give you a bunch of information and kind of guidelines for diving deeper into the cause of IBD and finding ways to address it. So I want to take a second over here and grab some questions. So, okay, we're going to go to Instagram first. So Diane says, I would like to know if there's something high in calories to add to my senior cat's food for suspected thyroid issues. In a case like thyroid, number one, I would get it under control with maybe some herbal supplements. And if necessary, your vet might require some medication like methimazole, depending on the level of how high those values are out of balance. So in a cat, if you can control or, bring that thyroid back into balance with a combination of medicine and supplementation, then we can get that appetite back more of a normal thing. You may need to add an extra meal a day just to kind of satisfy them, because they do burn hot, or their metabolism is revved up because of the thyroid. And so just I wouldn't say adding more higher calorie. I would say adding maybe another small meal. And remember, we want nutrient dense protein, highly digestible protein, which I think you're doing now. So that's kind of my best recommendations on that. Okay, I want to come over here to Facebook and say hi to Laura Lee's here, and Robin is here. Diane, hi from Sacramento. And then Bela, all the way from Canada. I'm so happy that you and Ritu are here. Okay, so Bela has a question. She says, I posed a question about my traumatized cat feeling my trauma and his triggers and over grooming. That is a great observation. Our cats, our pets will pick up our energy, our stress so easily. And even when we're trying to hide it, they know what's going on in our lives, and they know if we're upset, they know if we're stressed, and they will take on our stuff. I'll call it stuff. Just because they love us, they want to help ease those burdens that we have. So we have to learn how to manage our own stress in healthy, positive ways. And that could be exercise. It'd be just going for a walk and getting outside every day, journaling, meditation, there's just so many wonderful ways that we can learn to identify the causes of our stress and release that stress. So many times we just hold on to stuff that no longer serves us. And so we've got to do some deep work a lot of times, and just sit with yourself, in a quiet place, and just be aware of the thoughts that come to your mind. Um, we have to start going inside and identifying what our triggers are, what kind of emotions are we holding on to, and are we ready to let those go? Because a lot of times they are not serving us, and they just get stuck, and then we get stuck, and then we keep reliving those over and over every day, because the cellular memory is recreated when we just think about the event or the thought or something that happened a long time ago. Our body is recreating that in our cells over again, whether we are aware of it or not. So taking the time to identify and actually just letting go. It's not about burying things. That doesn't do us any good. So we've got to figure out what we can do to just release stuff, just put it out in the universe, send it off with love, and say, I don't need this anymore. This doesn't serve me. And then our cats and our dogs will stop taking on this kind of stuff, this baggage. So I would say, Bela, we just have to learn how to identify and let go of our stuff first, so that they don't take that on. Uh, and then giving our pets tools, like maybe flower essences, maybe color therapy, herbs for self-selection, to help them deal with the emotions and the stress that they're picking up from their environment. So there's a lot of colors like green for grounding. Um, Depending on the type of stress and the situation it is, you can go through crystals, you can use colors. Um, Flower essences are a good one if you can match the essence to the type of emotion or situation going on. So those would be great options for you to consider. And then I love the herbs for self-selection. Thank you, Julie Ann Thorne with Naturally Cats, because she's the one who taught me all about that. So finding an herb and putting it down and on a towel, or some kind of fabric or something, for them to just go self-select what they need. So we call it an herb garden, and they're basically just dried organic herbs, and you can put them in little teaspoon piles on a some sort of a blanket or towel or something, and they just seek out the herb that they need at the time that they need it. And when they've had enough, they get up and they walk away. I know Laura Lee has seen this a lot with her family. I've used it with mine successfully. So it's really awesome how that works. Okay. We are going to go to, let's see. So I think Laura Lee, she's help for a cat has been diagnosed with a thyroid issue, was put on prescription food, which he hates and won't eat. Yeah. We've talked about this before. Prescription cat food is not ideal, and it is not my first choice. For thyroid, number one, find the root cause of the hyperthyroidism. In some cases, it's environmental toxins, to something as simple as formaldehyde in our flooring, chemicals in our air. It can be flame retardants in cat bedding and furniture. There's so many sources. So if we can figure out the source of what's causing the thyroid issue, then you do your best to remove or alleviate that issue. And then I would use something like herbal supplements. I know Pet Wellbeing has a great thyroid support gold that I have used for one of my cats many years ago. And I just added it to his food or a treat, baby food or something. And I did that twice a day. So I would definitely use some type of herbal support. I know that NHV Natural Pet Products has a Resthiro. They have a supplement for hyperthyroidism too. And I would also eliminate fish products because they have naturally occurring BPA in them. And there was one other thing. Oh, canned pet food, canned food. A lot of the cans have BPA in the lining. So you really have to go do some research and digging into the brands that you're feeding to see if their cans are BPA free or if their packaging is BPA free. So if you can move to more of a fresh or raw diet, you can eliminate a lot of those issues. So that's my 2 cents on helping cats with hyperthyroid. Yeah, and I don't support the prescription diet. I don't blame them for not eating it. They're going to do much better on a species appropriate, high quality digestible protein because they're carnivores. Okay, let's see here. All right, so I'm going through questions. Okay, so Diane Thomas says, I have a 1-year-old kitty, and two 4-month-old kittens. Oh my goodness, I'd love to be in your house. She says, I would love to use an organic, non-chemical flea treatment. They are all indoor-only kitties. What do you suggest? And if on a needed basis. I guess you're asking in case they go outside because they're indoor. So if they're indoors and you're not bringing fleas in on you, then I don't know that you need to worry about using a product like that. But if by chance they did go outside and fleas jumped on them, which just because they go outside doesn't mean they're going to be covered in fleas. There's my fave, Flea X by Feline Essential is an easy spray that you can just put in your hands and rub through their fur really good. I know Wonderside has products that are natural and safe as well for cats, but there's a lot of non-toxic, safe products that you can use. Just make sure it says safe for cats because not all products that are safe for dogs can be used on cats. So be careful with that. And there's also, help me out, Jenny. What's the Dr. Judy Morgan's something mountain dust powder? I can't remember what it's called, but that stuff works really great too. So yeah, but if your cats are not exposed to this ever, I really wouldn't bother putting anything on it. So yeah, and have fun with your babies. Oh my gosh, that's awesome. Okay, let's see. And Nicole says, check out my post on Team Crazy. I'm over the moon excited. What? I haven't seen it, so I don't know what you're referring to. Okay. Okay, so let's go back to Laura Lee's question about the thyroid cat. She says he is one of the facility cats. She does a lot of rescue with feral kitties. And she goes, he is so exposed to all kinds of chemicals and whatever he may be exposed to from other cats that come through our clinics. Sad situation. Yeah, it's hard. You can't prevent feral cats from getting exposed to things like pesticides and herbicides that are outdoors that, you are very limited for sure. Switching that particular cat to raw is hard if they've never experienced that before. Remember, we are introducing them to what we call food. So when their taste buds, their palate has never had raw food, they don't know what it is. They're just going off of whatever they're used to getting. Is it dry? Is it canned? That's their food, so we have to teach them that this is new. And so that's, it takes patience, but also energy work can help that process go a little bit faster. Okay, so we have a question from the show. Okay, so Kelly in Alaska says, what can we do for our dog? She's recently been diagnosed with dementia. Oh, baby. I am not a dog expert, but I know that there are a lot of really good products for senior dogs. I'm just drawing a blank here for a second. I know MCT oil is really good for mental cognition and function, but so are lion's mane mushrooms. So lion's mane mushrooms are excellent for cognition. And so I would definitely be adding some lion's mane, probably some coconut oil, MCT oil to his diet and fresh food. Um, you can probably get some really good resources at drjudymorgan.com. She has a lot of dog expertise and she has a lot of really great products for dogs for these type of conditions. So I would refer you to drjudymorgan.com for that if you want more information. Shannon in Canada says, my cat seems to sleep a lot, like most of the time, and I'm worried they aren't getting enough exercise. What can I do? Well, I don't know how old your cats are. Now, we know as they get older, they do tend to sleep more, but we need to think about ways to enrich their environment. So, what can you do? Are the windows closed or are they open? Like, are the blinds closed or are they open? So, let's open the blinds. Let's give them cool little perches and places that they can see outside. Let's bring the outdoors in if they are indoor kitties only, and let's create some fun things for them to do. There are puzzle toys for cats. The interactive cat toys are really awesome. You can be creative with paper bags and boxes and cut holes in things and just learn to think like a cat. Like, what would stimulate my interest? What would pique my curiosity? If I was a cat, not every cat likes the same toy. So you have to look at different types of toys that they seem interested in. My cats lately are interested in like a ribbon, a black string ribbon, and chasing that. And it's basic. It's nothing fancy. But it's the bomb these days. So, go figure. We just have to get them interested. And if you feel like something in their health has changed that might be causing or contributing to something, then I would just go have a wellness checkup and just make sure nothing underlying is going on that's contributing to being so sedentary and sleeping so much. Okay. Delaney in New York says, I have 3 cats that grew up together as siblings. How can we safely introduce a new kitten to our fur family? Oh, I love that. Well, first of all, you have to be very patient. So when you're going to introduce a new kitty, knowing that cats, there's already, established family members in hierarchy, we're bringing in a new precious little baby. I would separate that baby from the rest of the household for a while. So give him his own space, room, large bathroom, whatever, with his own litter box, put his food in there, make sure he's got things to play with, maybe a cat tree, a scratcher, whatever, and let him acclimate to your home in this room. And then as that is going well, your other cats obviously are going to know he's there. You need to make sure you spend just as much of your normal time with your other cats so that they don't feel threatened or left out. And I know that's hard when there's a baby because we want to be with the baby all the time. So I feel you there. The other thing I was just going to say is they're going to start to sniff each other under the door, and you can start to play with them under the door, with a toy, and let them start engaging with each other under the door. And then you can, if you want, you can try putting baby gates, open the door and put baby gates. So now they can see each other, but they can't get together yet. And then maybe even take a big kennel and put the kitten in the kennel in the middle of the family room or wherever everybody else is hanging out so that they can start getting accustomed to their shared environment. And the other cats in there can't get to the kitten, but they know it's there, and just treat it like a regular playtime session, so everybody's engaged. And as that gets better, you can start maybe doing one-on-one introductions with the kitten and one of your cats, because typically there's going to be one that will bond first versus the others. So we just got to go slow. So you want to go at the pace of the least receptive cat. So we want that cat, whoever that is, that's established in your hierarchy already, to feel comfortable and safe and not threatened. So it can take a while in some cases, it can take days. So I would just say use your best judgment, but definitely give them some space at first and separate them so that you don't just take something new and throw it into the mix and hope for the best, because that rarely works out well. So there's also some great resources with Dr. Marcy Koski at Feline Behavior Solutions. She has blogs and articles that you can look at and get tons of more details. I just kind of highlight on a few. Oh, there's one other thing actually. Scent swapping. Take a sock and put it on your hand, and then go rub that kitten's face all with your socked hand. Rub it all over, and then go rub that sock on your other kitties. So you're putting the scent of the new one onto the current household kitties. And then after you've done that, go back and put it on the baby, because you're swapping their scents, so they're getting used to each other's smells. So that is a great way to start introducing somebody new, or even, new furniture or new belongings, whatever, if you have someone that tends to be spraying and marking, things like that. Okay. Maggie in Ontario says, what can I do about my cat's hyperactivity at 3 a.m.? Well, welcome, Maggie. Cats are crepuscular, which means they naturally, biologically, they have this little clock inside of them that wee hours of the morning before dawn, that's when there's something in them clicks and they're like, okay, it's time to get up and play or hunt, because their biological cousins in the wild hunt at dawn. They get up at like 3, 4 in the morning, and that's when they start hunting. So what I recommend is do a play session, 15, 20 minutes, maybe longer, before you go to bed, and then feed them a meal before you go to bed, so that they get this hunt, catch, kill appetite satisfied, and then they can go to bed and you can go to bed and sleep. So that's kind of what I have learned. I know that has worked with a lot of people. If you have to, shut the door, put a snack out in the other room wherever you feed them, and make sure they have toys. So, if they like to bat around toys and things like that, just make sure they have something they can entertain themselves with until it's time for you to get up, and hopefully you can get some sleep in the meantime. Okay, so going on here. So Michelle in Ontario says, is wet cat food safe for dogs? Basically, yeah, it's fine. It's really when you have the opposite situation, because cats have higher taurine requirements than dogs, is what I have learned. And so the dog food a lot of times doesn't have the right amount of taurine for cats, but having a little bit extra taurine in the dog's food is certainly not going to hurt them. So it would be fine. Yeah, I would see no problem, but long term, I would certainly want to give them their own, dog created food for them. I'm assuming the dog likes to steal the cat's food or something like that, which is probably because they like that food better than what they're getting. So just a thought, I would try to figure out why the cat's food is more appealing. That's my best answer on that. Okay, we're going to go back over to Facebook. Nicole wants fiber recommendations besides coconut oil and pumpkin to help with hard stools. Okay, you could go with ground flaxseed. You could do pureed asparagus. You could go with pureed squash, acacia fiber. I'm trying to think. Those are the 3 that kind of come up to the top of my head at the moment. Fiber sources. What about psyllium? Have you tried psyllium husk? Because just even a quarter to a half a teaspoon once a day may do it. Yeah, I would give that a try. And then maybe even coconut chips, like Cocoa Therapy has the actual ground coconut chips, and like it's almost a powder, not powder, but it's not oil. So it's actually coconut. So you could even try that unless they hate coconut. So those are some suggestions for you. Okay, going back to Hilda says, is animal fat good for a constipated cat? I would say no. I have not heard that is beneficial. I have had another client's vet suggest that. No, that's not true. She heard it from somebody, and then the vet's like, I don't think I recommend that because the cat actually had pancreas issues too. So, fat would not be that's not a source of fiber. So if we have a constipated cat, we need to look at what they're eating, make sure they are on a high moisture, species appropriate wet diet. And if that doesn't fix the problem, they just need some extra fiber. So again, you could look at psyllium husk. You could look at canned pumpkin, pureed squash of some kind. You could even do pureed cucumber, pureed asparagus. What else to say? Acacia fiber, coconut oil or coconut, ground flaxseed, those kind of, even chia seeds. I just thought of that. Chia seeds could also be a source of fiber too. Just small amounts, like maybe a quarter to half a teaspoon once a day until the stool is normal. Okay, let's see. I'm looking through questions. Hi, Madison. Okay, so Madison says, what is the best way to teach Pantera? He can't be on the kitchen counters, especially when I'm cooking. Don't want him to get hurt. Good luck. He is so curious. Kittens are so curious and they just want to know what's going on. I actually, I would have to, this is a long time ago, I would have to hold one of my cats and cook with my other hand because he just wanted to be up and see what was going on. Now I know that's not feasible all the time. I would redirect his attention with toys, with, engaging him with a wand toy of some kind, maybe even putting him in a different room for a little while, if he's really, really not cooperating and wants to jump up there. Redirection and then rewarding is probably your best bet, because we want to train them what we do want to do instead of, scaring them into doing something that we don't want them to do. So, things like noisemakers or spray bottles and things like that. Some cats just they're not even fazed by that. So redirection is really one of your better options. And so you may have to just experiment with several things until you find something that really works. And you may have to be creative, and you may have to rotate your options if they get bored and, figure out that that's what you're trying to do. Or just go get one of those little papooses and put him in it while you're cooking, and he can watch and see what's going on. So there's a lot of creative ways we can get around that. Laura Lee says, I created a spot on the counter for Sloopy to sit and judge our cooking from a safe distance. That's a great idea. So if you have the room and he's content to be up in a safe area that he can still see everything, that might be an option. But we are talking about a kitten. Kittens have a mind of their own so many times. Okay, let me see what other questions we have. I may have missed some. Okay, thank you, Nicole. So let's go back to the flea stuff I was talking about. It was Buck Mountain Parasite Dust. Thank you, Jenny. That stuff is on drjudymorgan.com. Great stuff as an option for natural flea stuff. Okay. Looking. Nicole says, I have chia seeds. Yeah, you can, Jenny, I like your idea. She likes to make the chia gel. You can certainly hydrate them overnight and then mix them into the food too. So most definitely, those are great suggestions. Okay, so going back to the flea question with Diane, she says they never go outside, but if fleas get in somehow. Okay. Yeah, if they never go outside and they're not coming in on you, chances are very slim that you're going to have to worry about that. But those are some natural options that I shared with you. Okay, let me see if we have anything over here in Instagram. How are you guys over here on Instagram doing? I'm scrolling through your questions. Um, so Just Jamila says, I'm so forever grateful for you helping us save our cat from FIP. That's awesome. I'm guessing you got onto the FIP Warriors 5.0 on Facebook and connected with them. That's what I'm guessing, because those people rock. Okay, so let me see what else is on here. Let's see. So Diane, your question about Tigger wanting to eat a lot and she eats 5 meals a day, I would have her thyroid levels checked and make sure that she doesn't need some like medicinal help. And you guys know I am not a pharmaceutical pusher, but sometimes herbal stuff is not enough to help control those numbers. So she might need to be on a very small dose of something like methimazole. And they do have, from what I understand, the gel that goes in the ear now. So it's not just a pill like I used to have to give my cat years ago. So look at balancing the thyroid issue with some kind of herbal thyroid support, and possibly medication if it's not being controlled well enough. Because we don't want thyroid to get out of control because it can affect the heart. So you don't want to develop heart issues because we're not addressing thyroid. So it's real important that we keep track and stay on top of all of those things. Let's see what else. Let's see, I'm scrolling. Okay, she says the vet checked her heart rate, blood pressure, and thyroidectomy gland, not enlarged. Oh, okay, wait, thyroidectomy. Her thyroid gland, it's not enlarged. It's just the increased appetite that concerns. Okay. Well, I don't know still was the thyroid levels out of balance still when he checked all of that? That's what we want to know. If it was out of balance, try to find some herbal stuff that we can throw in. Pet well-being is awesome. I'm still reading comments over here. Okay. Coming back over to Facebook. Okay. Scrolling through questions, you guys. Okay. Madison says about her kitten. She says, he's driving me nuts. He's a kitten, God love those kittens. I get so attached to kittens. That's my weakness. Okay. Laura Lee shares that Bodhi loves beef. Beef is hard on him. So Green Juju's freeze-dried treats have helped a lot. Oh, that's good. I wonder why beef is hard on him. He may have a sensitivity to beef, or is it too fatty, do you think? It just depends on the type of beef, I guess, he's getting. So Jenny says methimazole can be dangerous, though. Other pets or kids in the household can be exposed. Human gets it on their fingers. So, yeah, the gel, I totally get it. There's sometimes there's no easy way to handle stuff. It really comes down to what the pet parent's willing to do, and not all cats will agree to be pilled every day. And so I know that's why they created the gel. Yeah, so you probably have to use gloves to put it like way inside their ear so they can't access it. So you just kind of have to weigh, pros and cons of what's going to work best for you. Okay. So Diane over here talking about Tigger again. She says, we didn't do bloods. We're monitoring weight for a month. I would go ahead and get that. Yeah, she's a vet phone consult tomorrow. I would go ahead and get the blood work checked. I mean, just, if there are additional symptoms like yowling and weight loss and getting thinner, but despite all the 5 meals a day, that's a sign. And so it would be worth going ahead and just get the blood work done just to rule it out or rule it in. And then you just know. And then we can go from there for sure. Okay. All right. So does anybody have any more questions? I think I've gotten through all the ones that I have so far. Is this helping you guys? I know it's a lot of information. We kind of bounce back and forth. There was something else I was going to share with you guys. Well, I'll see if any other questions come in. Nicole wants to know, is there homeopathy for intestinal worms? Yes, there is. What kind of worms? Are we talking of hookworms and roundworms, whipworms, things like that? If we're talking protozoa or parasites, I got stuff for that too. Would garlic work for worms? I don't know about garlic. I'll be honest with you. That would not be my first choice for worms. There's a remedy called Podophyllum 200CK that is excellent for protozoa parasites, amoebas, those kind of things. If it's a worm of some kind, then the China, CINA, China is probably a 200C is what I would grab. China 200C, and I would use that for worms because that can clear those up. You just have to use it for probably about 3 weeks. So it's not a quick thing. Sometimes it's 28 days. It really depends. Jenny says, what about DE, diatomaceous earth for worms? There are other better options. I have learned in recent years from the amazing Dr. Karen Becker that taking DE internally, it's very drying and it's very cutting. So it might irritate the GI tract a little bit. So there are much better things that we can use for that instead of DE internally. Okay, so we have another question from News to the Soul. Okay, last 9 minutes. Okay, let's see here. Diane says, how do you find good vets you can trust to incorporate more holistic modalities? The fact alone that prescription cat food is not good for your cat is scary. Where can I go? Great question. Diane, basically, we have to become our pet's best advocate, and you showing up here tonight is the first step. Doing your own research, going online, learning about ways that you can naturally support your cat, starting with diet, species appropriate diet, and then doing your research if you're dealing with a specific type of health condition or underlying health condition of some kind. Get on websites of people like Dr. Karen Becker, Dr. Judy Morgan, Dr. Katie Woodley, Dr. Lori Kozier, Dr. Odette Suter. There's great integrative holistic vets out there that put out articles, that have webinars and all of that good stuff where we can learn how to do better. We can educate ourselves on all these different things. But as far as finding a vet, go to ahvma.org. That's the American Holistic Veterinary Medical Association.org. And you can actually look by region where you are. Just type in your city, state, and it will pull up holistic vets that are registered as AHVMA members that are on that website. And it will tell you where they're located. It will tell you what their specialties are, and you can reach out to them. Now, a lot of holistic integrative vets now do phone consults, so remote sessions with people. So that could be another option or a resource for you, in addition to finding a local vet, even if they're not holistic, even if they're just open-minded about certain things and open-minded to be respectful of your viewpoints and things that you do want to do and don't want to do with your pets. If they can at least do blood draws for you and maybe some diagnostics if that's ever needed, and then partner with an integrative vet that is remote, so online, that can help you walk through that process. And there's also homeopathic vets who do phone consultations too. So there are resources out there. You just really have to do a lot of digging. And then, just like I said, keep educating yourself. There's a lot of cat experts, I would say experts out there who, like friends of mine, like the two crazy cat ladies, put out a ton of information. I have articles and I do lots of health related services with cats. So we don't have to be in the same place. This is all, remote stuff. And so connect with people online in communities like this, and just, you're going to have to do a lot of your own research, unfortunately, because at the end of the day, we are our cat's best advocate. The information that our vets are taught, unfortunately, is very limited to whatever it is they learned in vet school, and then whatever additional information and education they have sought out since. So some of those people are forward thinking and really want to get out and learn, and others are very stuck into, doing only what they were taught in vet school. So, as Dr. Falconer says, vote with your pocketbook and find a vet who you can align with. And you may have to interview a lot of vets. I have a friend of mine who, when she moved here to where I am now, she had to interview a lot of vets. She would call and had her little points that she wanted to just go through. And before she made an appointment with somebody and took somebody on as a vet, she wanted to know where they stood on her big issues, and if those were going to be an issue of seeing her cats or not. And she had to interview quite a lot of people. You might even be able to find like a mobile vet who can be your primary care veterinarian, because a lot of times those people are a little bit more open-minded, some, more integrative and things like that. So that's kind of my 2 cents on that. I really hope you find somebody, because it can be very challenging for sure. Okay, so let's see. Madison wants to know, she goes, Da Vinci stopped eating wet food. Does he need to be cleared? Probably, but he probably needs, I think you said you were trying to get him off the dry food, correct? So whenever they're still eating dry and we want them to eat wet, we really have to just stop the dry. Because if they know that they have a default that they can go to, because remember, they spray chemicals like food additives for flavor on dry food to make it palatable and appealing. Otherwise, cats and dogs would never choose dry food unless they did that, because it would taste like cardboard. So if he's going to default, if that's going to be his default, then we just have to stop the dry completely and give him the wet. Once we do the clearing work to break that block to wet food again, that would be my best suggestion. Okay. So Jenny says, what about the crop and Cellcore Para 1 Mimosa pudica seed? I don't know what that is, but if Cellcore is using it in their products, then I bet you it's a damn good product, because Cellcore is awesome. And that, for y'all don't know, that is an amazing natural supplement product company for people. Okay. Madison says, going back to Da Vinci, he's on WD due to stomach problems, and been trying to find a wet that doesn't set off his vomiting and diarrhea. Yeah. Is the WD dry or wet? Because I don't remember. I don't follow prescription food. So if WD is dry, then that's probably why. And he may be sensitive to one of the thickeners or an additive in the wet food that's causing him to have vomiting and diarrhea. I've had another client with that kind of issue too. Okay, going back over here to Instagram. And see if there was anything else on here. Okay. Yeah. All right, guys. Okay, Jess Cat says, what are some tips for dental health? I was looking at plaque off. Dental health, number one, feed a wet, species appropriate diet. If your cat is eating dry food, you're just adding to the tartar because the sugar from the dry food breaks down in the mouth and it sticks to the teeth. So that's number one. Stop the dry food. And then raw food is actually really, really good to help prevent that. But you can make a homemade toothbrush if you've ever, or not toothbrush, toothpaste with like a little colloidal silver, a little coconut oil, and maybe a probiotic, or like dental drops, Dr. Judy Morgan's dental drops, and just make you a little bit of paste. Get a little finger brush and start brushing their teeth. It takes practice. I've got a video on my website if you want to see how that's done with a toothbrush for a cat. So yeah, there are great natural products for dental health for cats. I've got some at shop.perfectlyholistic.com. Yeah, they won't let me touch their mouths. Then, oral additives, cat breath by Herb Smith is one, and then Dr. Judy Morgan's dental drops. And you just may have to just be really patient and keep trying. Guys, we are out of time. I can't believe this hour is over with already, but I really appreciate you guys being here. And if you have any further questions, Pam@perfectlyholistic.com is the email. Check out the website, perfectlyholistic.com, and shop.perfectlyholistic.com if you want to look at some of the products that were mentioned here tonight. And we will be here next month with Dr. Katie Woodley talking about seasonal allergies with pets. And until then, you guys have a great rest of your evening, and we'll see you next time. Thanks again.